Where did you go on holiday?
Halifax,
Where's that?
in Nova Scotia, Canada, north and east of Maine.
Why?
The Royal Nova Scotia International Tattoo.
To get a tattoo?
No. Come aboard our motorhomes with us. This adventure has many facets. The drive, the friends, the sights, the food, the harbor, the entertainment. Iowa friends Cindy and Carol Caruth caravanned with us from Minnesota east. Cindy took this picture of our orange and brown Ford travel as we passed through Chicago. Next stop, Maury Vineyards in Traverse City, Michigan. This winery is owned by Marty Lagina, reality television personality on The Curse of Oak Island. Here's to another fun day and a view of Lake Michigan. June 21st, we crossed the Canadian border into Ontario without incident. RVers travel in small, medium, and large rigs. The view from the Skyline Tower in Niagara Falls, Ontario is gorgeous, and the food and service fabulous. The Skyline opened in 1965. That's 4 years after the Space Needle for the World's Fair in Seattle. Across the Niagara River is Buffalo, New York. 4 cheers for the Skyline Tower, Niagara Falls, Ontario. We try to travel a little over 300 miles a day. Oops! I mean about 500 clicks. We are in Canada. Welcome to Ontario. Look at the traffic signs. We all know what this sign means. Can you make out this sign through the bugs in our windshield? Here it is closer. Nobody here says, well, pardon my French. Onward through New Brunswick. Welcome to Nova Scotia. Have you heard of Amherst, Oxford, or Pugwash? Amherst is the equivalent of the county seat of Cumberland County. It is July 13th, and property taxes are due July 15th. John and Helen thought they'd save a stamp and just stop by and pay taxes on the 54 acres they own near Oxford. Assessed valuation of the 54 acres is $19,400 Canadian, and the taxes on it are under $15 a year. Helen's ancestors immigrated about 1750. The property was a gift of the Crown. The Alphabet Store in Oxford is a favorite. We just had to buy this Christmas ornament and a few other things from Eric. Oxford is the wild blueberry capital of Canada. We are getting close. That's the Atlantic Ocean. When we paid to exit the toll road, we also got told we must stop at the Masstown Market. We ordered lunch at the Fish and Chip Boat. 1-piece haddock and chips, $8.99 Canadian, or about $6 US. Yum! Notice the serving size. The fish market in the lighthouse offers fresh caught haddock from the Bay of Fundy. The Bay of Fundy is less than a half hour away. The Bay of Fundy tides are the highest tides in the world. Imagine a tide that is 53 feet tall. The Bay of Fundy mudslide ice cream is tasty, and the color is pretty close to that of the bay. A tidal bore occurs when an outflowing river is backed up by an incoming tide. The rapids can be as high as 10 to 12 feet at some times during the year. We dry camped at the Truro Visitor Center so we could catch the morning tide run up the Salmon River. Here it comes in.
Well, this is a part of or not history, but geography or whatever it is. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, wow.
Welcome to Shubie RV Campground in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, our home for the next 6 days. Neighbors are, in the brown and orange rig on the left, John, Helen, and Avita. Carol, Cindy, and Cole in the maroon and silver. And on the near right, across the road, Susan, Judy, and Callie and Shelby. We can see Judy and Susan's site from out our front windshield. Avita was so happy to see her Wenatchee friends, Callie and Shelby. The Shubie Park includes the Shubie Acadia Canal, on which construction started in 1826. It connects to Lake Micmac, where there is an off-leash dog park. Cole enjoyed the walk and Avita ran to the water. The history of this beautiful space dates back 4,000 years to the native Micmac people. July 1st is Canada Day, formerly Dominion Day. The celebrations include parades and the Royal International Nova Scotia Tattoo, held in the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax. From the overture to the finale, the acts are spellbinding. Visuals related to each performance are on a humongous screen. The choirs fill one end of the arena. The Tattoo is the world's largest annual indoor show. We are celebrating Canada Day at the Royal Nova Scotia International Tattoo.
Hold that up and show everybody that you picked the blue flag. Perfect. And what I'm going to get you to do is take these flags, bunch them all together with the blue flag, like you did with your report card before you showed it to your mom. Perfect. I'm going to throw this in the box. Morgan's going to pick out the blue flag, and he's going to meet us right there. But what I need you to do, so Morgan knows what I'm asking him to do, is could you please come stand right here on the X? Hold this flag, Maya, as high as you can, so he can see it. He seems pretty excited about this whole ordeal, eh? Maya, here's a lesson. Stay in school. Let's go. There he goes.
After the tattoo, we enjoyed dinner with friends and friends of friends at Murphy's on the Water. More seafood. Around the table, from left to right, John, Carol, Cindy, Joni, Nell, Pat, Deb, Susan, Claudie, Robin, Lee, Judy, Helen. And for dessert,
Oh, Canada!
We followed with dinner at the waterfront warehouse. Everyone ordered something delightfully different. Each plate was beautiful and delicious. From Helen's PEI rock crab cake with pineapple banana pepper relish and curry aioli to Judy's spring salad with strawberries, papetas, and mango dressing. Come aboard the Harbor Hopper with us. Splash! We're in the Halifax Harbor. The city is beautiful from the harbor. The pretty towers are built on pilings over the water at the edge of the Halifax Harbor. Murphy's on the Water restaurant also is truly on the water. Looking out toward the Atlantic Ocean, a schooner or a lighthouse may come into view. Wave at Theodore II, a large-scale imitation tugboat, as we go back to land. On land, anything from artwork to air conditioners might catch your attention. This dog's collar caught Judy's eye. The architecture is historic to modern. Notice to the right of the sign announcing the Citadel is a sunbather. The strategic hilltop location with a commanding view of the Halifax Harbor was chosen in 1749 for the fort destined to protect the city. The Scotiabank Centre hosts sports events and cultural events such as the Tattoo. The arena opened in 1978. St. Paul's Church is the oldest building in Halifax. Its build end date was September 2, 1750. Its affiliation is the Anglican Church of Canada. The side door looks across the street to a cemetery. There are 12,000 plus graves in the cemetery. Old Burying Ground, also called St. Paul's Cemetery, 1749 to 1844. This statue in Victoria Park honors Scottish poet Robert Burns. He died of rheumatic fever in 1796 at age 37. Burns wrote The Best Laid Plans of Mice and Men and the poem Auld Lang Syne. Museums abound. There is great attention to preserving history. Artifacts are preserved in the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic from the sinking of the Titanic on April 15, 1912. Cindy evaluates the comforts of a replica of a deck chair. Across town lie the remains of 150 victims of one of history's most tragic maritime disasters. Just before midnight, on 14 April 1912, the RMS Titanic struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The majestic ship sank in less than 3 hours, with the loss of close to 1,500 lives. Of the 328 recovered, many were buried at sea. Some of the remaining bodies were claimed by their families, and the rest interred at Fairview Lawn, Mount Olivet, and Baron de Hirsch cemeteries. Notice the stone's placement goes to a point, a reference to the shape of the hull of the ship. The Peggy's Cove Lighthouse is a must-capture for every visitor's photo album. Peggy's Cove is a small fishing village about 40 kilometers, or clicks, south from Halifax. Smile, Callie and Shelby. Smile, Susan and Judy. The lighthouse was built in 1915. It still is a beacon for seafaring crafts. Carol, go explore, but don't slip on the rocks. A bagpiper welcomes tourists to the cove. We ate seafood lunch and celebrated the 4th of July at the Sou'Wester restaurant. Oh, say, can you see? As you can see, the Sou'Wester, on the right horizon, is near the lighthouse on the left horizon. Tourists are everywhere. Fresh-caught lobster is on many, many menus. Lobster traps abound. A few months earlier, Shorty, the wooden fisherman, made the news because he had been stolen from Peggy's Cove boat tours. The owner had a Mrs. Shorty built with outstretched arm, begging Shorty to please come home. Dalhousie students rescued Shorty and brought him home. The Fisherman's Monument is a 100-foot bas-relief sculpture chiseled on an exposed piece of granite. Artist Degaert, originally from Finland, started the project in his backyard when he was 70 years old. The memorial depicts 32 fishermen and their wives and children enveloped in the wings of a guardian angel. Colorful houses are characteristic of the village. We enjoyed 4 nights at Hubbard's Beach Campground. The Shore Club opened just after World War II as a dance hall and supper club. We could walk to it from our rigs. Prince Charles and Lady Diana dined here in 1983. Aye aye, matey. This boat is a salad bar. A buttery salute to the original Nova Scotian lobster supper. Dessert included. While just driving around Margaret's Bay, a sign caught Helen's eye. Hooked Rug Museum of North America. Helen's maternal grandmother and great-grandmother, both born in Nova Scotia, were hookers. These were their hooks. Great-grandmother Wood hooked this rug in the mid-19th century. The museum's collection is jaw-dropping. The displays include both vintage and modern rugs. This Portuguese woman's image was hooked in 2015. A photo of Duke Ellington was the design base for this monochromatic rug. On our way out of the museum, we noticed a sign that said, "No photography." Oops! Tony Sampson has been both cast and crew in every season of the History Channel's Curse of Oak Island. He is an adventurer, a diver, a treasure hunter, and the best skipper ever to take you on a sea tour around Oak Island. We boarded the tour from the docks at the Oak Island Resort. Upper left on the screen. Oak Island is one of more than 350 islands in Mahone Bay. The crane flying the maple leaf is at the cofferdam on the island. The Canadian government permitted the cofferdam for historic exploration. It allowed the crew to find some stone drains that feed the flood tunnels to protect the treasure. The permit expired, and the structure was removed in the fall of 2019.
And again, some people say, well, if these knights were so rich, why wasn't it a gold cross and not a lead cross? But you've got to remember the Templars, they didn't care about worldly possessions at all. So there's things that you guys can see here that I can't. The swamp actually starts over here by this big tree. It goes all the way over here. So even this close to shore here, we're still in 30 feet of water.
Thank you, Skippers Tony and Missy Sampson, for the sea tour of Oak Island. This 1795 diagram of the layers identified in the 120-foot shaft seems to substantiate that something of importance was carefully hidden and booby-trapped. In 1795, oral history was the fashion. Written stories of the Oak Island treasure hunt didn't appear until nearly 70 years later. Flagstones were found at 2 feet. Every 10 feet is an oak platform. Beginning at 30 feet, there is a charcoal layer every 10 feet. Between 60 and 70 feet, there's coconut fiber. At 90 feet is the inscribed stone. A flood tunnel is below 111 feet. And below 120 feet is the supposed treasure. Tales passed down through the seafaring Delano family captured the interest of Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the stories of the Money Pit and Oak Island. FDR was part of the Old Gold Salvage Group in 1909. A causeway was constructed in 1965 to provide access for equipment needed by treasure hunters. Welcome to the Oak Island Interpretive Center. The first recorded owners of the island were New York fish merchants in 1753. In 1759, the British granted free land to attract settlers. In 1783, a wave of Loyalists came to Nova Scotia from the United States. Some settled on Oak Island. If you're lucky, Doug Kroll, researcher, and Paul Troutman, historian, will chat with you about anything Oak Island. Artifacts of the native Micmacs date back 10,000 years. Evidence shows that in the year 1000, a Norse village was established to the north in Newfoundland. The Norse could have conceivably also traveled here from Launcesay Meadows. If you watch The Curse of Oak Island, you know the artifacts indicate visitors have included a variety of people, including English and French military, pirates, and the Knights Templar. This lead cross, discovered by metal detector Gary Drayton in Smith's Cove in 2017, bears an eerie resemblance to an early 1300s carving in a wall at the Templar prison at Dome, France. It has been determined that the lead was mined in southern France. The Interpretive Center holds many fascinating objects, including this Victorian-era portrait brooch. The gold in this garnet brooch has been determined to be 500 years old. No need to explain this oak door featuring a carved oak tree. The new research building is finished. Who might be important enough to be driving this rig around the island? Carol and John spotted historian Paul Troutman and researcher Doug Kroll. Paul and Doug even autographed the bill of an Oak Island cap for Carol. After a day on Oak Island, go to Mater's Wharf in Mahone Bay. And just like on TV, lift a glass at the Mug and Anchor Pub. Inside the Mug and Anchor on the History Channel. Inside the Mug and Anchor in person. Oh my God. See you next time. It is a short drive from the Gulf Shores RV Park to Pugwash. Thinker's Lodge is the ancestral home of Pugwash-born Cyrus Eaton, a Cleveland industrialist. Cyrus Eaton hosted and financed the first Pugwash Conference on Science and World Affairs in 1957. Atomic Age Powwow in Pugwash brought together 21 outstanding physicists, chemists, and geneticists, including 3 Nobel Prize winners and a Harvard Law School dean. The conferences were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1995. By then, 37 conferences had been held. The Pugwash Conference on Science and World Affairs returned to Pugwash in 2003 for its 53rd meeting. The lodge is open to the public and available for rent. It has sleeping rooms upstairs. A homey atmosphere is maintained. Notice that a hooked rug is the artwork above the fireplace. The scene is the Three Sisters, a rock formation in the Bay of Fundy. A schooner, the Blue Nose, graces the table and the hooked rug. The innovative door maximized the storage under the stairs. If you're wondering what the fascination is with Pugwash, Helen's maternal grandfather was born in Pugwash. Attractions also include the Seagull Pewter Factory and Gift Shop, the Windsor Salt Mine. No need now to explain the name of this school. The Scots Gaelic language is still alive in Pugwash. Back to Gulf Shores for another beautiful sunset on the Northumberland Strait. The strait is in the southern part of the Gulf of St. Lawrence. We are taking a side trip to Prince Edward Island across the Northumberland Strait. The Confederation Bridge is Canada's longest bridge, 12.9 kilometers or 8 miles. It links Prince Edward Island, or PEI, to the mainland at the eastern point of New Brunswick. It is also the world's longest bridge over ice-covered water, looking southeast over the bridge rail to the strait, approaching the toll plaza on PEI. Perhaps the most unusual thing on PEI is the bottle houses. The ticket office and gift shop looks pretty ordinary. The gardens are fanciful. Are you looking for bottles? The base of the bottle typically forms the outside wall, and inside you see the necks of the bottles. Lots of bottlenecks. We wondered what the acoustics would be like. Edouard Arsenault began building these incredible bottle houses in 1980 at age 66. In 1982, he built a bottle tavern. He was also an avid gardener. Arsenault started building his third bottle house, a chapel, in 1983. Sadly, he died before he completed the steeples. The pews and the altar also are made of bottles cemented together. Together, the 3 bottle buildings upcycled over 30,000 glass bottles. Motorhomes have a predilection for getting in trouble. On this trip, while parked, Judy and Susan's Winnebago had a too-close encounter with the rear end of a car. When we pulled into Gulf Shores just after a rainstorm, the foretravel proved to be too heavy for the campground conditions. The view of the Northumberland Strait was fabulous, as was the weather. Here comes the tractor to pull us out. When the tractor failed, another camper hooked his pickup up to the back of the tractor. Canadian ingenuity. It worked. As Cindy put it, the view was beautiful, the Canadian tow was priceless. John and Helen win the Entertainment Award today. Cindy and Carol's sports coach slide got stuck out. Correctable. Then it got stuck in. They decided to hit the trail to the factory in Indiana. A couple of hours later, Cindy called.
Carol missed a fuel stop due to my bad directions. We pulled off at the next exit for a potty break. We were in an abandoned parking lot, and a pickup pulled alongside of us. A man got out and knocked on the door. He said, "I assume because you're pulled over, you know your car's on fire." I screamed, "Fire!" at Carol. I just grabbed my purse and the dog and left out of the coach without even waiting for the steps. A few men stopped by to help release the tow equipment, and we saved our coach. The fire extinguishers only slowed down the fire a little bit. After our insurance company saw the pictures, they understood that an adjuster would not even be able to read the car's VIN number. Goodbye, Ford Focus.
A good time was had by all.